Hi again, friends. This lecture begins the section on problem solving. And I want to talk about some of the basics and attitudes of problem solving during this lecture. And then we're going to go on and talk about 3 different methods of problem solving, none of which are terribly complicated or difficult, but they are a discipline. And I want you to practice the methods of problem solving so you develop the habits, so you develop the disciplines of problem solving. Now, it used to be in the old days, maybe before you can remember, that if an employee said, I have a problem, or there is a problem, it was like there's a hurricane, there's a storm, there's a crime, something bad has happened. And I want to make sure that that is not how you think about problems. I want you to think about problems as opportunities, as challenges. In fact, I want to say that as a manager, if you don't think you have a problem, you have a bigger problem than you think. And the problem is that you're not recognizing problems, you're not understanding problems. Problems are opportunities for improvement. Now, there's something about the word problems that I don't like. I'd rather think about challenges, opportunities, ways you can improve. I had a consulting firm for many years, and when I came to work in the morning, I didn't come to work and say, well, are there any problems today? Because we think about problems as a negative event. Somebody spilled something, somebody broke something, somebody did something wrong. And that's not how I want you to think about problems. I want you to think about problems as the gap between where we are and where we could be. You remember our little mountain climber going up the mountain, and we talked about both behavior, sort of the soft side of climbing the mountain, and the data, the performance. And we're focused on both those things, improving behavior, and by that we improve the performance. And we're watching both of those things and creating short-term goals, short-term targets, as we move towards an end state, a challenge that you never really get to. It's like, I want to be an educated person. When are you an educated person? Well, the sign of a great manager is not a manager who's standing still and saying, I'm there, I'm at the top of the mountain. You're dead when you think you're at the top of the mountain because somebody's about to knock you off. No, you're great when every day you're continuously improving. And the way you do that is through a method. And that method we call problem solving. So it's not just that somebody broke something. That's not the problem. The problem is what I call creative dissatisfaction. Creative dissatisfaction is the gap between where we are and where we could be. I could be smarter. I could do better videos. I could write better books. I can always do something better, right? So I'm here and I want to be even better. And life, the energy of life, the energy of the muscle is not stimulated by a condition of ease, saying I'm there, but it's that constant challenge. And the way we move up that mountain is through problem-solving methodologies like the Plan, Do, Check, Act illustrated here. And we'll talk about others, but through constant problem solving. So let's talk about attitudes of problem solving. And I know attitudes is sort of a soft word, but it's how we think about problems. Now, attitude number 1 is problems are normal. You don't freak out when you have a problem. You say, every day there's a problem. It's how do we improve things? If something's not working, that's a problem. Why did it happen? We study why it happened. And we have the attitude not focusing on who's to blame. A high-performing culture, a lean culture, a high-performing team is never one where we're looking to blame people. We're looking to improve the process. We're looking to improve how things get done rather than focusing on what's wrong with the people. I had an experience in my early days working with Honda where I was meeting with the executive vice president overall manufacturing, and he was describing how they hire people. And I said, well, very sophisticated company, very high-performing company, they must just hire the best people, right? And he said, no, actually, what we do in terms of first-level associates is we do a basic background check to make sure they're not, on the run from a murder crime or something, that they can read and write, they can do very basic math. And then we put their name in a hat and we pull their names out of a hat, sort of random selection. And I was sort of surprised because I said, really? I mean, why don't you there are all kinds of ways of selecting the best. Why don't you select the best rather? And he said, you know what? He said, when you hire 12,000 people, which is what they had at the time, you know who you're going to end up with when you hire 12,000? You're going to end up with average people. That's what you're going to end up with. Our job is to design the process and the culture where average people can make great cars. And I thought that was brilliant. That's right. We're not going to have a great product. We're not going to have a great process because we have the greatest people in the world. We have to have a great process whereby average people, now it depends on your work, right? If you're hiring brain surgeons, please hire the best possible brain surgeons. I'm not arguing that you don't do that, but I am arguing that when we think about problems, we think about the process, not the person. You remember, I think I told you, Dr. Deming said, 95% of problems are in the process, not the person, but 95% of the time we blame the person, we don't fix the process, we can't figure out why the next person has the same problem. Okay, solving problems quickly is desirable. Fast is good, faster is better. The longer you wait to solve a problem, the greater the cost of the problem gets worse, we get used to the problem. So solve problems quickly. Every day, your team should be thinking about how to do things better, and that's problem solving. We're sometimes looking for the ideal perfect solution, and there ain't none, okay? There's always a better way, not a perfect way. And sometimes we don't take action to improve because we're looking for the perfect way. And this gets to sort of the complexity and nature of problem solving too. I've gone to courses on problem solving. I won't name the company, but it was very famous. Used to be very famous for its problem-solving methodology. And you'd go into this conference room where they're teaching the methodology, and I swear to God, the methodology covered the whole wall. I mean, you did this, and then you did this, you went there, and then you did there, you went there. I mean, it was this incredibly complex model. I mean, you had to have a PhD to learn it. Nonsense. Problem solving can be very simple. And I'm going to teach you methods that are simple. They're not for simple people. They're not for simpletons. They're for smart people, because smart people engage in rapid problem solving quickly. They try things out. They experiment. And they look at the data, right? That's the whole game of problem solving. Problem solve, think, what are the problems, what are the solutions? Try something out, look at the data. Did it improve? It did, yes, let's standardize that. It didn't improve, let's try something else. But you do rapid cycle. This is sort of the lean, agile methodology of rapid cycle experimentation, rapid cycle learning. Address problems that your team can control. We all have this tendency to blame others, to assume the problem is the other guys, right? I may have told you, I don't remember my prison story. When I worked in prisons, I had 150 young inmates, 33 of whom had killed somebody. And what I learned from interviewing them was that none of them belonged there. They all had an explanation for why they were there. That was always the other guys. The other guys got them in trouble. Well, trust me, they were the other guys. They got themselves in trouble, but they did this externality thing. It's a characteristic of people who are not successful, that they tend to blame other people, people who are highly successful, say, what could I have done differently? And that's internality, something called locus of control, from internal to external, locus of control. People who are internal tend to be more successful than people who are external. Externals end up in prison. High-performing teams say, what can we do? What can we do? So as a manager, as a leader of your team, I want you to focus on problems that your team can work on solving. Trust in the power of the collective intelligence of the group. There is something, we're always looking for, well, who is it who has the right answer? And we tend to, oh, he's the smart guy, let's go ask him. No, let's learn to use the brain power of the collective intelligence of the group. And that's what team problem solving is about. Team problem solving is not about figuring out who has the right answer. It's the belief that if we all think together, you remember our thinking together versus alone dialogue, if we think together, we will all come out with a better solution. Be a detective. Play Sergeant Friday. Always focus on the facts. Everybody has opinions, but what are the facts? Opinions are easy, opinions are cheap, but what are the facts, right? You know, when you really go to look at the facts, you can cut through all the nonsensical ideologies and you can really solve problems. But if you're focused on just what people think, just their opinions or their ideologies, you don't get there. You get there by really focusing on the fact. The rule of parsimony says that the simplest solutions or the simplest explanations are best. You know, very often we can create highly complex, well, because of this, went around and come back. What are the simple things we can do? Find the simplest explanations that we can do something about quickly. That leads to continuous improvement. Just one other thing. You know, we think of problem solving as so complex. The reality is every problem solving model has some of the same basic elements. You define the problem well. What really is the problem, right? You go to the Gemba, you go see, go get the facts. Engage others in thinking about the causes of the problem. Think about the solutions, brainstorm solutions. Figure out which is the most likely possible solution. Experiment, try it out. You know what? Everything that we'll talk about is about that simple. I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. Now we can, make it a little bit more complex and ask more questions to probe, and that's what the different models do. But basically, all problem solving comes down to those things. Okay, we're going to go through 3 problem solving models: root cause analysis, plan, do, check, act, and the A3 model. These are all used in lean management, and they all work very effectively, and they can all be used by your team. Ready? Let's go.